Good evening. You're watching TKC Daily, where we make sense of the global events with straight facts and sharp analysis. A very happy Friday. I hope you all are enjoying a long weekend. And for those who have an office tomorrow, just make some excuse and go out and have some fun. But before that, let's catch up on the world affairs. Coming up on the show, the Houthis accuse the United States after a deadly strike on an oil terminal. Was this a war crime? Then Meloni woos Trump, but will it help Europe? Meanwhile, Canada has its final Prime Ministerial Debate. We will bring you the five key takeaways. Also on the show, Hamas rejects Israeli ceasefire. What does this mean for the future of this conflict? And finally, India is planning to cap nuclear accident liabilities to attract US companies. What does this mean? What's behind this move? All this is lined up. Let's begin. The conflict in Yemen has just taken a dangerous new turn. At least 58 people are dead and 126 other wounded after the US carried out airstrikes on the Ras Asa oil terminal, a Houthi-controlled facility on Yemen's Red Sea coast. This is one of the deadliest incidents since President Donald Trump ordered intensified strikes on Houthi targets last month. The US military says the goal was to destroy a key source of fuel and revenue for the Iran-backed Houthis, who have been targeting Red Sea shipping in response to the Gaza war. But the Houthi-run media called the site a civilian facility, accusing the Washington of committing, and I quote, a full-fledged war crime. They say most of the dead were workers, and the five paramedics were also killed in the secondary strikes when they tried to respond. Footage from this scene also showed carried bodies, destroyed tankers, and people with severe burns being treated in nearby hospitals. Eyewitnesses said that the airstrikes came in waves, leaving everything in flames. The US Central Command defended the action, stating that it aimed to degrade the Houthis' economic power and warned Iran and its allies that the world would not tolerate terrorism or illicit smuggling. Iran responded angrily, calling the strikes barbaric. Meanwhile, the Houthis remained defiant. Their leader, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, claimed their forces had launched 80 operations since March, 30 targeting a US aircraft carrier and 26 aimed at Israel. The backdrop to the crisis is Yemen's devastating civil war, now in its 10th year. Over 150,000 people have died, nearly 5 million displaced, and half the country's population needs humanitarian aid. This is the current situation. The Houthis seized the northwest a decade ago, prompting Saudi Arabia and the US to intervene militarily in support of Yemen's internationally recognized government. Since November, the Houthis have attacked dozens and dozens of ships in the Red Sea area, sinking at least two and killing four crew members, claiming to act in solidarity with the Palestinians. But critics say their target goes far beyond Israel-linked vessels, and with Trump now reclassifying the Houthis as a terrorist organization, tensions are bound to escalate even further. The question is, with strikes, counter-strikes, and defiant rhetoric rising, is there any off-ramp left for peace in the area of Red Sea? You know how some friends sometimes fight but still hang out because they need each other. That's kind of what's happening between the United States of America and Europe right now. Yesterday, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni became the first European leader to visit Washington since Donald Trump announced and then paused a 20% tariff on European Union's imports. Standing side by side, Trump and Meloni projected confidence about a possible new trade deal, a new trade agreement between the US and Europe. There will be a deal, Trump said, 100%. Though he stressed it must be fair for both of the countries, Meloni echoed the optimism, saying she is sure an agreement can be reached, adding, "The goal for me is to make the West great again." Meloni came to Washington with a clear mission. What was her mission? To ease tensions caused by Trump's recent tariff decisions and pitch herself as the bridge between the United States and a wary Europe. Her aides called it a commercial peace mission. While she didn't walk away with any promises to remove tariffs, she did convince Trump to visit Rome and potentially meet European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen, a move seen as a diplomatic win. Well, President Donald Trump, meanwhile, took the opportunity to tout his broader trade agenda. What is that? He said he expects to strike deal with several countries. He said, and I quote, over the next 3 to 4 weeks, including China, despite ongoing tensions. But when asked if he might raise China's 145% tariffs, he hesitated. I may not want to go higher, he said. You want people to buy. Beyond trade, Trump and Meloni discussed defense, immigration, and what Trump calls the fight against, and I quote, the woke ideology. Trump also praised Meloni's immigration stance and leadership, even calling her beautiful in a moment that grabbed headlines. Meloni in turn promoted Italy's recent economic progress and assured President Donald Trump that her country would soon meet NATO's 2% defense spending target, something that she has not done yet. The visit has its critics as well. Italian opposition leader called Meloni's praise of President Donald Trump culture war misguided, but admitted she achieved two key goals: staying firm on Ukraine and nudging Trump towards dialogue with the European Union leaders. So while no documents were signed, Meloni left Washington with something more symbolic. What was that? Credibility as a possible, and I quote, Trump whisperer in Europe. And in today's geopolitical climate, that might be just as powerful. Canada's four major party leaders just squared off in their final televised debate before the country heads to the poll. But ironically, the biggest name in the room wasn't even Canadians, it was Donald Trump. Let's break down the five key takeaways from the 2 hour long political showdown in Canada. Number one, Trudeau's ghost haunts Mark Carney. Liberal leader Mark Carney, the former Bank of England governor and the Prime Minister, entered the debate as the front-runner, but he faced constant reminders of his past performance of of his party. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre hammered him with the phrase "lost liberal decade," blaming him for housing unaffordability and economic stagnation. This is what he said. Number two, a softer stance on Trump tariffs. Then came the elephant in the room: Trump's aggressive trade policies. Under his presidency, Canada has faced harsh 25% tariffs on many goods, despite the USMCA trade agreement. In a surprising shift, Carney admitted that Canada was moving away from dollar for dollar retaliation. Instead, the plan now is to use smarter, more targeted tariffs to pressure Washington while minimizing damage at home. Interestingly, Trump has recently toned down his rhetoric, even calling his chat with Mark Carney, the Prime Minister Mark Carney, constructive. Number three, real policy differences on display. Beyond the Trump talk, the debate highlighted real policy divides. Poilievre promised small government and tough on crime measures. Singh pushed for bigger social programs like dental and pharmacare. Then comes Carney. Carney stayed centrist, claiming government should play a catalytic role in solving problems, in solving crises. Voters have clear ideology options this time around. Then fourth point, smaller parties fight for their relevance. With the Liberals and Conservatives dominating the race and taking the center stage, third place parties struggled for attention. SIG's NDP, polling at just 8.5%, may lose most of its 24 seats. Singh often interrupted, trying to stand out as the true left-wing alternative. Then comes Bennett, used every chance to focus on his party's interests, but his party could lose a dozen seats as well. Fifth and the last point, Canada keeps it civil. Despite tough exchanges, civility mostly ruled the night. Even after heated arguments, Carney and Poilievre were seen laughing and shaking hands. A stark contrast to the chaos we have seen and we expect in the US. As Canadians head to the polls, the choice is clearer than between community, continuity, change, and a whole lot of strategy in between. Hamas has formally rejected Israeli latest ceasefire offer, deepening the deadlock in one of the most devastating conflicts of our recent times. The group's chief negotiator, Khalil al-Hayya, released a statement saying Hamas will not accept, and I quote, partial deals that serves Netanyahu's political agenda. This is what he said, their chief negotiator. Instead, Hamas says it's ready to immediately negotiate a comprehensive deal, one that would see all remaining hostages released in exchange of a full end to the war and the release of Palestinian prisoners. This is what they're proposing now. Israel's proposal included a 45-day ceasefire and release of 10 hostages. Hamas, however, viewed this as a tactic by Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government to ease political pressure at home without committing to a full end to the hostilities. He's facing indeed some sort of pressure at home as well. 59 hostages remains in captivity through only 24 confirmed on to be alive. One of the Israeli side, the rejection has ignited strong reactions. Far-right finance minister said it declared it was time to open the gates of hell on Hamas, signaling an even harsher military response. The humanitarian situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate. The situation is not very good. Dozens are being killed daily in airstrikes, and according to Hamas-run authorities, at least 37 civilians, 37 people, mostly displaced people in tents, were killed in recent Israeli strike. One witness from Al-Mawasi described how the explosion engulfed neighborhood tents in flames, claiming the lives of children and families who had already fled other parts of Gaza. Israel has previously designed Al-Mawasi as a safe zone where they won't attack. While the Israeli military said it's reviewing the reports, it also stated that over the past 2 days it struck over 100, and I quote, terror targets. Meanwhile, Israel maintains that there is no aid shortage, though aid groups on the ground strongly disagree with this claim of Israel. The heads of 12 major NGOs have warned that the humanitarian situation in Gaza is on the brink of total collapse due to the Israeli blockage, which was reinstated on March 1 to pressure Hamas into releasing the hostages. The war began on October 7, 2023, when Hamas launched a deadly cross-border attack, killing around 1,200 people and taking 251 hostages, according to Israel. Since then, Israel's military campaign has killed more than 51,000 people in Gaza, based on figures from Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. With both sides locked into opposing visions of how this war ends, the human cost only continues to climb. In a significant move to boost its nuclear power sector, India is considering relaxing its nuclear limited liability laws, aiming to attract foreign companies, particularly from the US. The government plans to cap accident-related penalties for suppliers, addressing concerns over the unlimited liability under the current law, the current act that is in force. This reform comes as India seeks to extend its nuclear power capacity 12-folds by 2047, a key part of its effort to strengthen trade relations with the United States and meet its growing energy needs back in home. The aim is to create a more business-friendly environment, particularly for the United States firm like the General Electric and Westinghouse Electric, which have been hesitant to enter the Indian nuclear market. Why? Due to the risk of unlimited liability in case of an accident. This was their concern. Now, by capping the liability at the value of the contract and settling a time limit for claims, India hopes to offer more clarity and security to these companies who want to come in India. The move is crucial for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government, which aims to increase nuclear energy capacity to 100 gigawatts by year 2047. Experts agree that this change could also play a pivotal role in finalizing a trade deal between India and the United States, with the goal of ramping up bilateral trade to 500 billion by 2030. India's nuclear liability law, which was introduced in year 2010, has long been shaped by the tragic memory of 1984 Bhopal gas disaster. The catastrophe, one of the worst industrial disasters in history, saw Union Carbide agreeing to a 470 million settlement after over 5,000 people were killed. The nuclear liability law, a direct response to this tragedy, discourages Western companies from entering India's nuclear market as it exposes them to the risk of significant financial claims without clear limits on them. The amended law, expected to be discussed during the upcoming monsoon session of Indian Parliament, would bring India's nuclear regulations and resolutions in line with global standards, where the responsibility for safety lies primarily with the operator, not the supplier. This shift could make India a more attractive destination for US companies, while also advancing the country's ambitious clean energy goals. The bottom line is, India's potential nuclear liability reforms are about more than just improving energy infrastructure. They are also a critical step, a crucial step towards a deeper and more mutual beneficial relationships with the United States of America. As India continues to pursue its nuclear ambitions, the world will be watching closely. And that's all I have for you on the show tonight. I will see you on Monday. Until then, take care and good night.